I think back about all the times when my wife and I were young, before we had kids, we had nothing but an abundance of time. And how many times we did not go to the coffee shop and get that big, Central Perk cup of coffee. And I wish I would have done that more, but I couldn't get past, I need to save and I can't spend the money. And there's a balance there. And I think the more clearly and the better you can articulate what are those things that truly are important and truly do matter to me, I think the better you're going to be able to strike and find that balance.
Well, I think, look, in the beginning part of your journey, you are getting rewarded for all those small decisions. The latte effect is legit.
It's a real thing
at the beginning. But the important thing that I want to empower people with today is, when do you know to kind of change and get out of that? Mm-hmm. Because there will be graduation points that you're going to see, your life change. And that's why I think a good filter is we can talk about, these kinder questions.
Yep,
these are questions that will give you additional perspective on how you think about your finances, how you think about your life as a whole, to kind of hopefully get you back grounded and have a better perspective on things.
Yeah, so if you can ask yourself these questions, it will allow you to hone in and focus on those things that truly matter. Here's the first one. If you were financially secure and you were able to take care of all of your needs and if you didn't have to worry about money anymore, how would you live your life? What would be different than the way that you're behaving today? Well, once you answer that question, you want to then begin to say, well, do I have to be financially secure to do that? Or could I begin to move in that direction?
Well, I also think, we do the stat that, first generation millionaires are around 80% of millionaires are first generation. The only way that stat works is if 70 and the first generation goes away. After that, first generation passes away. And then 90% goes with the grandkids. So I always remind people is that it's okay to be saving all this money, but also make sure you're living in the now. That's because right. Your kids will have no trouble spending your money. So maybe if you reframe it with that question of, you're financially secure today, what would you change in your life so that your family actually wants to go on vacation with you, because you're not piling 6 people in one hotel room and you even got the closets occupied with sleeping bags. There's a better way to do things and grow and let your money graduate as you have more and more success.
How about this second question? If you were to find out today that you only had 5 to 10 years left to live, what would you do with that remaining time? How would you change it? What would you change, and why would you change those things? Well, if you, again, can begin to have the mindset of, man, if I only had 5 to 10 years to live, I would do this. Perhaps that gives you some insight into maybe the things you ought to start doing today. You ought to begin thinking about today instead of just waiting for and kicking those items into the future.
And then, of course, this one, if you just want to fine tune that last question, if you find out you're leaving today, the world, what do you wish you'd have done more of? Mm-hmm. What do you feel like you're missing out on? I love these exercises because they just let you kind of get outside the noise of what society tells you and all these other things, and let you really kind of hone in on what's important to you so that you can start focusing on that. And hopefully some of this will sober you up into all this craziness we deal with on a day-to-day basis and realize, no, this is my why. This is what's important, so I can have the intersection point of my money, but also my why, so I don't lose myself in all this.
So living for the future was one sign that you may be saving too much, that you may be moving into financial miser territory. The second sign that you may want to be aware of is that, are your relationships beginning to struggle? And Brian, unfortunately, this is one that we've seen a ton.
Well, and gosh, I mean, if you think about the stats on this, it breaks my heart to know approximately 40% of divorces are partially due to money fights.
That's right. 2 in 5 divorces, 40%, are because of financial problems. This is a problem that exists right now in the country that I would argue does not have to exist.
Well, and I think a lot of us naturally will just go to, this is because there's not enough money.
Mm-hmm.
I want to caution you that are on the financial miser side of things. A lot of times I see, and I've dealt with these relationships where it's actually in a very abundant household. If you are the spouse that's the money focused spouse, and you're still nickel and diming your spouse to give you every receipt that they have because you haven't graduated from the budget to a cash management plan, what is that doing in the long term? That's what I'm saying. There is nothing wrong. These good behaviors that start building wealth, they're actually good in the beginning. Discipline is rewarded.
Sure.
But it's just that as time progresses and you reach more success, your milestones, your goals, and your lifestyle should change as well.
So how about this? That's talking about how the relationship is between spouses. What about this one? What if you recognize that because you're so conscious of the money and striving so hard for some future financial well-being that you're not actually spending quality time with your kids today? You find yourself going to the office a little bit earlier and coming home from the office a little bit later. Even when you are home, you're not really home because your mind is somewhere else, or you're so worried about how much things cost that you won't do the things with your kids that they really want to do to build those memories. That is a problem. That's a sign that maybe you've let money move you into the wrong direction.
Yeah, and then this is one that I think we've both resembled, Bo, at some point in our life, is your friends call you a tightwad.
Yeah.
And look, there's nothing wrong with it if it's coming from a fun place, is because my wife picks on me and she's like, you are so cheap about unique things. I don't understand how your brain works. But I think that's okay to be quirky in designated, categories or so forth.
Sure.
Like you don't like to you don't do soft drinks or tea because you think it's a ripoff in a restaurant. That's a quirky thing. That's fine. But if you're the person that your friends don't want to go out to eat with you anymore because they just know you're going to raise a stink because you're just dying to tell the waiter, no, all separate checks right now.
Or you want to figure out how many chips you ate of the appetizer so you can split it proportionately.
So I don't have a problem with being called a tightwad. It's just, but knowing the when, where, and when to graduate is very important in this.
So how do you solve these things? Well, number one, when it comes to your intimate relationships, when it comes to having issues in your marriage, one of the very first things that you can do is just get on the same page as your spouse. Are you guys setting aside intentional time to talk about the finances, to talk about the why behind the decisions you're making? Hey, we're not going to go on this trip, or we're not going to upgrade this car. We're not going to buy this thing. And here's why. And if you don't have a clear why, maybe it's understanding what both of you need. You may have a spouse that really likes to spend a lot of money on hair care products and expensive shampoo, and you might need to be okay with that being a reality that exists in your life.
Well, I also like if you can have an honest conversation and you're both on the same page, you're probably now a united front on why we're super disciplined in this season of life. But you see where the light at the end of the tunnel is, so that you can pull your foot off of that accelerator or gas pedal for the additional savings, is because you know the why behind it. And that if you're united on that, it doesn't make you seem like you're just the person that controls the purse strings and is controlling the power. You've got to do everything to take the power out of it, as well as make sure y'all are on the same page and on the same sheet music and playing the same song together.
I love it. And when it comes to your kids, one of the things that you can do is you can set aside time to make very intentional memories. And by the way, these don't have to be expensive. This is not that big blow it out trip to Disney World. Maybe this is saying, hey guys, let's go on a hike today. Hey guys, let's go out to the ball fields today. Hey guys, let's do something where we can spend meaningful time together, where all we're really focused on is the memories that we're making and the conversations we're having and the interactions that we are crafting, and actually be present in that. Don't be off somewhere else thinking about something else on your phone, responding to emails. Actually be intentional, because Brian, you tell me this all the time. We only get so many years with our kids in the house, and that time rapidly runs away from you. And before you know it, you wake up and you have a kid that's out of the house. You think, holy cow, where did that time go? Make sure you recognize that and take advantage of it while you still can.
Well, now that is exactly right, especially with the kids. Man, let's not go down that rabbit hole with having my oldest now a senior in college. That's really that will rip your heart out. But I will say that another thing that I wanted to kind of focus on is, if you can't afford something, this is getting into your family, but also your friends. Try to, because I was just picking on, if you're that friend that's immediately trying to split the bill, you never like to go out to eat, you never like to do any group vacations because you're just the tight one out of your friend group. There's nothing wrong with you reframing, instead of always being the no or the break in your friend group or your family group. how about coming up with alternatives that work for everybody? I always, if you know that you're the person that hates going out to eat with a group of friends because you don't like how you split the bill. And look, I've been guilty of this, and the fact that I've talked about my friends who are wine drinkers. That's where, if you want to get me, it rips my heart out when people are ordering these crazy glasses of wine. If you think cocktails are expensive, wait until you find out about expensive wine. And then when you're splitting those, there's nothing wrong with you if you know this is going to be a problem, but you still love these people like hanging out. Invite them over and smoke some meat.
Yeah,
you can. There's alternatives. There's ways that you can put yourself in different situations that still give fuel to the relationships and the memory building.
I love it. And again, these don't have to be expensive things. If you really are worried about them, invite them over for a potluck. Hey, everybody come to my house, bring something. We're all going to hang out. You can do those sorts of things, and you can still pour in those relationships without sacrificing your financial goals.